From the Ministry of the Presidency in Georgetown, this is This Week with the President.
Welcome to This Week with the President, a weekly program which takes an in-depth look at the policies, programs and work of the President of Guyana in his quest to realize the good life for all Guyanese. I'm your host, Granger. Thank you for joining us. In the highlights this week, President Granger highlights importance of regional integration as he joins Barbados' Golden Jubilee celebrations. President Granger says Green Agenda gaining momentum as Demerara Bank Limited launches fully solar-powered head office. Guyana joins Cuba in mourning of former leader Fidel Castro. Prince Harry arrives in Guyana on royal visit. These stories and more on This Week with the President. Caribbean integration and regional cooperation have been at the core of President David Granger's mission to strengthen ties between Guyana and other states within the Caribbean community and wider Caribbean, even as he sees a role for mainland Guyana in a bridge between that region and Latin America. Guyana's friendly relations with her sister state Barbados was illustrated just this past week when President David Granger and First Lady Miss Sandra Granger attended events for the 50th anniversary of independence of that island. Barbados' Prime Minister, Mr. Frondel Stewart, was in Guyana last May when Guyana also celebrated that significant milestone. The two countries are founding members of CARICOM, along with Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago. President Granger believes that their strong relationship is good for the region. The President used his visit to also highlight the economic purpose to the Caribbean community and emphasized the importance of the deepening of regional integration and the advancement of the CARICOM Single Market and Economy (CSME) for the economic well-being of all member states. During an informal meeting with the staff at Guyana's diplomatic mission in Barbados, he encouraged them to understand their role in maintaining strong relations with their host country, even as they keep close to the Barbadian people.
If we stay separated, if we stay divided, we will remain poor and we remain powerless in the international community. So it was on the 4th of July. We're all very proud people, but we're still very poor people. And in Guyana, my own mission is to lift people out of poverty. And I'm quite sure that in all the Caribbean countries, people are concerned about poverty. How will we do it? By combining our energies.
The head of state explained that on his assumption of the chairmanship of CARICOM, he plans to work with his counterparts in the region to continue to promote the establishment of the economic basis for the Caribbean single market and economy and integration.
I have a duty now as President of Guyana. In a few weeks' time, I'll become the chairman of CARICOM to continue the process which was started between Borno and Barrow in 1965, even before Guyana and Barbados became independent. So when I come here, I come to work. I come to fulfill that mission to continue to bring the Caribbean countries together. And the second thing I'd like to remind you of is the importance of your duty here. It is not a ceremonial duty. We didn't appoint Mrs. Pilgrim for ornamental, although she's very attractive, for ornamental purposes. It's hard work. It's hard work. And we have to establish the economic basis for this Caribbean single market and economy, for Caribbean integration. It's not just about meetings, it's not just about talks and conferences. It's about giving people in the Caribbean a good life.
Emphasizing Guyana's growth potential, the president said that being the largest CARICOM state, the country can be seen as the hinterland of the Caribbean. He noted that Guyana is open for investment in areas such as agriculture, tourism, and in the extractive sectors, and called on the mission to foster the type of integration that would make such investments possible.
That's why I would like to see Barbados, which has got a thriving tourist industry, which has got a good business infrastructure, which has got a manufacturing sector, which can generate capital, to be part of this rebuilding of the Caribbean community. So your work here is to foster that integration, because I am convinced that if we get more investment from countries like Barbados, which have got expertise with international finance and banking, we will all be able to move ahead much more quickly.
The president explained that if Guyana can attract more investments like the Santa Fe farm in the Rupununi, which is owned by a Barbadian, the entire region stands to benefit. The president thanked the Consul General, Ms. Sita Pilgrim, and staff of the mission for their hard work and dedication, and urged them to ensure that their work is in line with his vision of bringing the economies of countries of the region closer together.
We deeply appreciate what you're doing, and that this mission is a permanent part of Guyana's outreach. It's a permanent part of Guyana's national policy to make sure that the Caribbean comes closer together.
He added that his administration will deepen diaspora engagement in Barbados over time. He noted that he would have preferred to also have a meeting with Guyanese in Barbados on this trip, but that was limited by the severe weather the island experienced during his stay. The president also added that while he considered extending his stay in Barbados, he was unable to do so because of Prince Henry of Wales' arrival in Guyana. He committed to returning to Barbados for meetings with the diaspora in the near future. But during their 2 days visit to the island, the president and first lady's visit served to renew the friendship between the two countries. They participated in 3 national events. The head of state attended the Toast to the Nation event held at the Barbados Defense Force headquarters at St. Anne's Fort, the reveal of the 50th anniversary of Independence National Monument at the Garrison Savannah, and the Golden Anniversary Spectacular Mega Concert at Kensington Oval. Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Fidel Stewart, who welcomed the President and First Lady to the event, described the Guyanese head of state as his friend and colleague, and emphasized the 50-year-old friendship between the two countries.
Very pleased to have here as well my friend and colleague, the distinguished President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. And his presence here this evening is of great importance because Guyana in 1966 as well, on the 26th of May, went into independence, and earlier this year itself celebrated its Golden Jubilee. I was there for that celebration, and I'm very pleased to welcome President Granger and Mrs. Granger here to Barbados this evening. The warmth and the hospitality and the generosity of Guyana can be unbounded.
That generosity was illustrated later in the evening when President Granger delivered a gift of a painting depicting the national bird of Guyana, the kanji pheasant, which was created by Guyanese artist Miss Merlene Ellis, to the people of Barbados on the occasion of their 50th independence anniversary. The president also gifted Prime Minister Stewart with a Winslow Craig crafted wooden sculpture called the Chief Witness to the Environment. Presenting the gifts, the head of state said that they were a symbol of the relationship between the two countries.
What the geographers call precipitation. Yes. It wasn't heavy rainfall, precipitation. Your photographer, I think, is on his way. Right. Citation.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
And this for all the Barbadians.
Of course. We just had to have the distinction made. Very, very thoughtful of you, Mr. President. Barbados deeply appreciates this.
A well-known female artist called Mourning Ellis.
Very good work.
Yeah.
A demonstration of that friendship was also shown with the Ghana Defense Force, delighting the crowd gathered at the reveal of the National Monument event with a spectacular fireworks display. In addition, Guyana had also sent several paratroopers from the GDF who were supported by the Air Corps. However, they were unable to display their skills at the Independence Parade at the Garrison Savannah due to inclement weather. A total of 25 GDF members participated in those celebrations. Since his assumption to office in May 2015, President David Granger has used every available opportunity to push for a green Guyana, one which will put Guyana on the map globally as a leader in the fight against climate change. The achievement of a green economy is a goal which forms a major part of President David Granger's vision for the development of the country, but can only be achieved through a concerted effort by the administration, working in tandem with the private sector and civil society. Transforming Guyana into a green state must, therefore, begin within the municipalities, towns, the private sector, and even the private individual. Another company in the private sector has seen the validity in the president's green push and has jumped on the green energy train, clearly demonstrating that not only is it good for the environment, but it is an economically sound investment that is good for the bottom line. The Damara Bank Limited, DBL, on Saturday evening launched its solar-powered head office and corporate banking branch on Camp Street, where the head of state reiterated that his administration is committed to moving Guyana closer towards full renewable energy by 2025 and lauded the bank for leading the charge towards the development of a green state. DBL accomplished this at the relatively low cost of about $27.5 million, which it will recoup in about 3 years. Its monthly electricity bill prior to the transition was between $1.4 and $1.5 million per month and will now offer a special 8% interest rate for companies and businesses interested in installing similar technologies. President Granger lauded the initiative, noting that it is satisfying to see that the green revolution is gaining momentum in Guyana.
Our clean energy revolution is gaining momentum. And I'm happy that the Damara Bank, as a private company, is taking the lead in bringing the message of renewable energy to the rest of the corporate community. The leadership shown by private companies, such as the bank, will serve as a beacon to encourage other private companies to adopt renewable energy generation. And I think the message is catching on. Renewable energy is the wave of the future, and Guyana intends to be at the crest of that wave.
The president emphasized that Guyana has significant renewable energy generation potential in solar, biogas, wind and hydroelectricity, and noted that the country must work to develop these resources. He added that Guyana has its advantages over many of its neighbors in the region because of the resources at its disposal and can become a renewable energy hub in the region.
So we have the potential, and we could become a leader in the Caribbean, in our sub-region, in terms of generating renewable energy. We are developing a blueprint,
adding that his administration will continue to work towards realizing renewable energy use in all government buildings. President Granger said that he expects this process to advance more quickly in 2017.
We have the potential, and I believe that in the short and middle term, led by corporations such as DBL, we will be able to move more aggressively towards clean energy use. We've already started very slowly in the government by asking that all of our government buildings, police stations, our ministries, our hospitals, our schools and universities start to use clean energy sources. It will take time, but we're moving quickly. I hope, guided by the Guyana Energy Agency, we'll move much more quickly in 2017 than we were able to move in 2016.
This has been provided for in the 2017 national budget, with an estimated 64 government buildings slated to be outfitted with renewable energy facilities.
Under the Renewable Energy Program in 2017, we will install the first ever solar farm on a large scale in Mabarumo. A sum of $264 million has been budgeted for this exciting event. When operational, the 400 kilowatt solar farm will afford an additional 17 hours of electricity to the 3,000 residents of Mabarumo. Furthermore, our government has also advanced the pursuit of additional solar farms with a capacity of 800 kilowatts at Letem, 400 kilowatts at Madio, and 1.5 megawatts at Bartico. To complement public sector investment, the government will be granting a one-off tax holiday of 2 years for corporation tax to importers of items for wind and solar energy investments and for investors in water treatment, waste disposal, and recycling facilities. These interventions, when finalized, will significantly improve the lives of our people, especially in the hinterland, by incentivizing behavioral change, boosting investor confidence, and ensuring energy reliability. Our government's energy efficiency program will involve also the replacement of inefficient lights and the installation of 10,427 light-emitting diode LED lamps and 3,766 occupancy sensors in government buildings, as well as 360 energy-efficient outdoor lights. These interventions will result in an annual energy savings of 0.93 gigawatt hours, or 600 barrels of oil equivalent, with an estimated annual cost saving of 54 million Guyana dollars and avoided carbon dioxide emissions of 558 tons per year.
Describing his vision of a country where children are taught the value of protecting and maintaining a clean environment, and where job opportunities are created for young people in the field of green energy, the president said that he is confident that while Guyana will be a petroleum-producing country, it will reduce its own reliance on fossil fuels.
We are confident that our green state will be able to adopt policies which produce cheaper forms of energy, allowing for us to save foreign exchange. It will allow us to provide advantages to our manufacturing sector. I pointed out a simple matter in the Rupununi, where you have an overproduction of mangoes in one community, but they can't process those mangoes because they don't have the power. And Rupununi, of course, has got more sunlight than any other part of the country, more sunlight hours per day than any other part of the country. We can save money too by phasing out the use of imported fossil fuels, and even though Guyana is on the brink of becoming a petroleum-producing country, I hope that we maintain our status, or we adopt the status of being a petroleum exporting country, and we can go green and use the export funds for other purposes like building highways and bridges.
Chief Executive Officer of DBL, Mr. Pravin Chandradev, outlining a case study for other companies that are considering a shift to solar energy, said that technical feasibility and commercial viability must be determined, but added that the perception that installing solar energy is expensive is quite a myth.
One can realize how cheap the solar power is, apart from being clean and green in our present world, okay? But it is the cheapest source of energy on the earth as of today, particularly in Guyana, when the electricity rates are comparatively high compared to other countries.
The CEO went on to describe the significant impact it would have on Guyana's economy if more companies and individuals invested in solar energy and other forms of renewable energy.
President, if you recall, you had been to this premises on 21st of November 2015, and I take this permission to quote you. I am here to see the green curtains, green napkins. I am going to talk about the green economy this evening, but your chairman has spoken ahead of me. And I am interested in watching. Our chairman talked about the green initiative. And then President said, I am interested in watching. The Development Bank has undertaken charting a course to develop and explore green energy right here in Georgetown. Unquote. Okay. It is nearly 1 year ago, and we did it.
To support this push, Chairman of the Board of Directors, Mr. Yesu Prasad, announced that the bank will support the development of green energy in other companies or manufacturing plants in Guyana by providing a special rate of interest for such projects.
We've also decided that we'll donate some LED lights to institutions in need, such as orphanages. We believe this is necessary, because we'll make a little more surplus, so we must share it. We'll also offer for green energy, institution of green energy in other companies or plants in Guyana, a special rate of interest. I may even mention it. I'll venture to do so, but it will create a little problem, but we have to do it if we want to go totally green in this country, at an unbeatable rate of interest of 8%. So all of you here who are in manufacturing and in business want to improve your businesses and your profitability and help the nation become totally green, then go green with the Demare Bank. We are here to help you and give you all the assistance necessary.
For 44 years, Guyana and Cuba have held strong bilateral relations, with the Guyana-Cuba Medical Scholarship Program serving as a reflection of the solidarity and that of the two countries' practice. In light of these ties, President David Granger expressly joined in solidarity with the people of Cuba last Friday following the death of Cuban leader Fidel Castro. Mr. Castro, who was 90 years old at the time of his death, was the longest-serving leader of the 20th century after seizing power in 1959 when he overthrew Fulgencio Batista. President Granger, during remarks to the media the following day, credited Mr. Castro with transforming politics in the Western Hemisphere.
So we are deeply saddened by the passing of President Castro. His life was of significance not only to Guyana and the friendship that he had with Guyanese leaders, but also to the entire Western Hemisphere, I would say to the world. I think he's probably the best known Latin American. People have grown up not knowing any other leader in Cuba other than President Castro. So we extend our sympathy to his family, particularly his brother, who is now the President of Cuba, and also to the entire Cuban people.
President Granger said that Guyana and Cuba have enjoyed cordial relations for over 44 years and that the two countries have shared engagements on educational, technological, and other levels. Chief among these areas of cooperation are the health and education. Guyana benefits from the provision of medical services from Cuban doctors at hospitals and healthcare sectors across the country. In addition, Guyanese students have benefited from scholarships to study in a wide number of areas, including medicine and engineering. On Thursday, the President and First Lady, Mrs. Sandra Granger, visited the Cuban embassy, where President Granger signed the Book of Condolence for the late Cuban leader. The President said that the late Cuban leader will always be remembered by the government and the Guyanese people as a man who was not only humble, but someone who was respected and held cordial relations with neighboring states in the region, including Guyana. While in conversation with Cuban ambassador to Guyana, Mr. Julio Cesar Gonzalez Marchante, the President reflected on his personal encounter with the late leader, remembering him for his warm and friendly nature.
As I was waiting for him, of course, nobody knew what time he would come, and he came about 11 o'clock at night, and I did not realize he was in the building until I discovered he was in the kitchen meeting the cooks. He meant to meet the cooks before he met me. So I will always remember him personally, and of course the great friendship he had for Guyana, and of course we knew his commitment to the liberation of Southern Africa and what.
It was a good chapter in which we worked together.
Yes.
It's for historic Africa and the liberation movement.
Mrs. Granger, who also shared her experience of meeting the late President Castro while she served at the Caribbean Community Secretariat, she recalled that he had at that time expressed concern in how hard she had been working. She added that he has carved himself a reputation as a revolutionary leader. Cuba has declared 9 days of national mourning to honor the life and work of their late leader. President David Granger on Friday welcomed His Royal Highness Prince Henry of Wales, familiarly known as Prince Harry, at the Ministry of the Presidency. The Prince is representing his grandmother, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, on a royal tour of the Caribbean, which kicked off 2 weeks ago in Antigua and Barbados. Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu, Minister of Foreign Affairs Mr. Carl Greenwich, Minister of Public Security Mr. Kemaraj Ramjatan, Minister of State Mr. Joseph Harmon, Minister of Social Cohesion Ms. Amna Ali, and Minister of Social Protection Ms. Paula Lawrence were also present during that meeting. The Prince's entourage was led by British High Commissioner to Guyana Mr. Greg Quinn. During their discussions, President Granger expressed the nation's appreciation to the Prince for his visit and explained that his presence will shine the spotlight on all that the country has to offer, particularly its green and pristine forests, and what it has to offer the world in the fight against climate change.
It is important for us. One, his father, Prince Charles, is the patron of the Irokrama Center. And Irokrama is right at the heart of Guyana. It is over 271,000 square kilometers of a hectare, sorry, of a virgin forest, which Guyana committed to the Commonwealth since 1989. And that center is committed to, it's called the Irokrama International Center for Rainforest Conservation and Development. And that is a sort of institute, it's sort of a laboratory of biodiversity to preserve our unique flora and fauna. So Prince Harry coming here is a sort of fulfillment of the commitment of his own father to Irokrama. He's still patron, and a commitment of Guyana to the Commonwealth. And Baroness Cotton was here earlier this year as well. So from that point of view, from the point of view of the environment and the commitment Guyana has made to becoming a green state and to preserving its biodiversity, to conserve its rainforests, we feel that is very important.
Today, His Royal Highness is scheduled to visit the Irokrama International Center for Rainforest Conservation and Development, of which his father, His Royal Highness Charles, Prince of Wales, the Duke of Cornwall, is patron. President Granger explained that Irokrama is considered Guyana's green heart and is at the center of the country's policy to establish a green state. After the meeting, the Prince visited the Independence Arch, where he laid a wreath in respect to the country. Following that event, the Prince visited the Guyana Defense Force, where he was given a tour of the facilities. He later visited the Commonwealth War Graves in downtown Georgetown to also pay his respects. Later in the evening, a reception in his honor was hosted by the British High Commissioner to Guyana, Mr. Greg Quinn, which the President, First Lady, Ministers of the Government, Opposition, and National Assembly also attended. Now we take a look at the President's diary. Last Saturday, President Granger received the salute at the Ghana Defense Force's annual route march to mark the Army's 51st anniversary. The President, in his address to the officers, said that the price for security and safety is eternal vigilance and recognized the role that Ghana Defense Force plays in protecting Guyana's borders.
Soldiers, Guyana has over 3,000 kilometers of border, and you have to be responsible for protecting those borders We have 450 kilometers of coastline, and your Coast Guard has to be responsible for protecting that coastline. We cannot give that responsibility to anyone else. So we have to rely on you. And we are proud in our ability to rely on you year in, year out to discharge that responsibility. In another month's time, the whole country will be celebrating Christmas. But you will be protecting our frontiers. Many Guyanese will be with their families, but you will be keeping an eye on our frontiers to make sure that they are safe, that they are secure in their homes.
Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defense Force, Brigadier George Lewis, in his remarks, expressed that the officers and ranks are committed to the defense of Guyana and to protecting every citizen of Guyana. He stated that the GDF will remain committed to achieving the mission and ensuring that it provide public safety and security to the country. The event was just one in a month-long schedule of activities aimed at celebrating the 51st anniversary of the GDF. The President was joined by Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu, Minister of State Mr. Joseph Harmon, Minister of Foreign Affairs Mr. Carl Greenwich, and Minister of Legal Affairs Mr. Basil Williams. President Granger on Saturday afternoon joined with the family of the late Claude Alfonso Merriman, CCH, JP, to unveil a bust at the Merriman's Mall, Vicingen Road. Mr. Merriman was born on November 29, 1912, at Workinrust, Georgetown, and died in 1995. The bust was sculpted by Mr. Ivor Thom. The President commended the family for the initiative and spoke of the importance of remembering the sterling contributions made by generations of Guyanese towards nation building. Claude Alfonso Merriman was appointed as Minister of Labor and Social Security in 1964. He also served in the capacity as Mayor and Deputy Mayor of Georgetown. He was a popular mortician and operated the famous Merriman's Funeral Home. First Lady Mistress Sandra Granger during this week accompanied President Granger to the small island of Barbados for the island's 50th independence anniversary celebrations. There she participated in several main events, the Toast to the Nation dinner and the mega concert. Barbadian superstar Robin Rihanna Fenty, whose mother is Guyanese, sat with the President and First Lady at the Toast to the Nation event. Let's take a look. That has brought us to the end of this week's edition of This Week with the President. Do join us next time. Have a blessed day, Guyana. For regular updates, you can like our Facebook page, Ministry of the Presidency. Visit our website at www.motp.gov.gy or follow us on Instagram and Twitter at MOTP Guyana. Goodbye.